Hello. Welcome back to my channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe and also support my small business at latricelimited.com. So today we're actually just going to be talking about South Korea and their fertility rates, which are at a record low again. So they beat their record that they had prior. All right. So it actually says South Korea records records world's lowest fertility rate again. All right, so it says the rate in the country first dropped lower than one child per woman in 2018. But on Wednesday, figures released by the government showed the figure had dropped to 0.81, down from 0.84 the prior year. All right, and it's just constantly going down. It says in comparison, the average rate across the world's most advanced economies is 1.6 children, per person and whatnot. So they're looking at it and they're like, this is getting to be too much. The government's like, y'all need to be getting pregnant, y'all need to be doing some things. I believe I actually read an article, was in China actually, where they're like trying to encourage people to drink more, because when you drink more, you have on average more reckless behavior, etc., and things tend to pop off, if you know what I mean. So that's what they're wanting more, and to help with the economy, they say alcohol sales and stuff like that. All right, but it says the trend has been particularly pronounced in South Korea, where family sizes have reduced in the span of a few generations. At the start of the 1970s, women had 4 children on average. A declining population can put a country under immense strain, apart from increased pressure on public spending as demand for healthcare systems and pensions raises. A declining youth population also leads to labor shortages that impact the economy. So why is this happening? All right, so they have on here, and I'm gonna add in my little tidbits as well. So they said it could be because of the higher cost of living, a spike in house prices, and the impact of the COVID pandemic. Okay, so that's what they're saying. That's what they want you to believe is going on. All right, now I have a few things to which I believe may possibly be the culprit in this as well. All right, so yes, we have the higher cost of living. That's a real thing. Okay, it's expensive nowadays. All right, and it's expensive everywhere nowadays than what it was. All right, because inflation and this and that, and that's what they want to say. But you also have a thing that maybe other people aren't looking at too much, where you have children who are growing up and they're seeing how difficult it was for their parents, whether it was a single mother who maybe she only had her mom to help you guys out, or maybe it was, for example, both parents in the household, but they're struggling. Oh, I can't make your dance recital. I got to do this. I got to work. I can't do this. Oh, I got to do this. I can't, and they don't want that for themselves. They don't want to be miserable. Okay. They don't want to live the life that you had. They want to have a better situation. That could be a huge thing. They said a higher cost of living. Yeah. You mess around, you get one of the cheaper homes and whatnot. You're going to possibly be looking at, rats, roaches, black mold. And don't say that doesn't happen, because there are plenty of news reports, plenty of people who are mad because it happens. You do that, then let's say you have a really cheap place that you're living in. Maybe the surrounding area isn't that great. Would you really want to bring a kid into something like that? Maybe I had an apartment where it was mold. There was freaking mold there, and I was always constantly getting sick. My nose is running. I was constantly coughing. I'm like, what is going on? I'm like, is it like bad air? I mean, what's happening? Seeing that there was mold and I was constantly having to clean up, moved to the other apartment, no mold, no problem. So that just says a lot. You know what I mean? So you don't want other people to have to go through the kind of stuff that you're going through. I don't find that to be necessarily a bad thing. There you go. But yeah, I mean, if you want something better, you're going to have to spend more for it. And nowadays, in today's economy, you're going to have to be spending a lot more for that, which a lot of people just are not willing to do, and people don't want to have to do that. Also, you have to think about it. How many hours is a person having to work to live comfortably? Okay. We look at the minimum wages that we have, and this can go for any country really. Look at the minimum wages, look at the housing, look at other expenses, gas, whatever the case may be, that someone is having to pay. For me to live comfortably, I need to be working 55 hours to 60 hours a week. That's just the reality of it. Okay. With how much I make or how little I make. You have other people who they may have to work 75 hours a week to live comfortably. They ain't doing that. I'm not doing that. Okay. I would like to. Don't have any overtime. You also have that. You have companies who aren't giving any overtime. Maybe they overhired and now they don't have any time for you. So now what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Now you're going to bring in a kid when now you only barely make 40 hours? That doesn't make any sense. To be comfortable, you have to work so many more hours, and you obviously don't have that luxury. So why would you want to burden someone with having a kid? It just doesn't make any sense to do that. Also, and this goes into the whole work from home thing, okay? The lack thereof of work from home options, all right? So you have jobs, many jobs, who aren't allowing you to work from home. And if they are, they're paying you $10, $11, $13 an hour for part-time employment or even full-time. That's nothing. When you see, it's a lot of states that are saying, yeah, the average you need to be making is like $26 an hour. Well, that's ridiculous. I obviously can't afford that, So you have that. You have people who are having to go into the office when they could be at home. You could save money. You could save time on a commute. You want people to have kids, yet you don't want to accommodate them with, having kids or whatever the case may be. Or maybe they do want to have kids, but then they're like, well, man, I live an hour away from my job. That's an hour there that I got to get up an hour early. So that's about 2 hours in the morning. And that's 3 hours of my day that's wasted that could have gone to, tending to a child or tending to whatever else. Nah, I'm good. I don't want a kid. So you have all these little things that are happening, when you have the lack thereof of work from home options and not allowing people to do it when they could very well do it from the house, whatever job you may have that is able for you to actually do it from your house. You waste time on commute. You're wasting a lot of time at work. Okay. Let's be real. You're working 8 to 10 hours a day, whatever you're working. Okay. Let's say you're working 10 hours a day. Are you really working the moment you step foot in there? You got your lunch or whatever and your breaks. The moment you step foot in there, the moment you leave, you've been working the entire time. You're telling me there's no sitting around at all? I remember when I was at a warehouse. They were like, oh, okay, well, hey, let's try to induct the packages a little slower, like 1 package per minute slow, which they did. They even had a clock. And I was like, this doesn't make any sense. Let's get the mail out. Let's hurry up and get it done. So then we could just chill out, have people get a break versus having people prolong something that should only take 2 hours, prolong it to 4 hours. And now now it's like, okay, now we got to hurry up and rush because the next truck came in. How about let people sit down and relax for 45 minutes of no work? And then you get to the next thing. Wouldn't that make sense? Because people, they bust their tail and then it's like, okay, now I get to relax. As opposed to where scan, which I've done before. And management said, that's what I want you guys to do because they don't want people to just sit around when they could have just gotten the work done in half the time and then had the other half to chill out until the next truck comes. That's the problem that we have. And let's be real. No one, I don't care what kind of customer service job you're in. There's not always going to be a customer here. There's not always going to be a package here. So if you have 10 hours, you're probably only really, think about it. You're probably only really working 5 of those hours. You know how you have, even in fast food, you know how you have like the lunch rush. So maybe it's like really, really, really slow to maybe from X time to X time. There's only about 10 customers in there, but lunch rush, 40 come in. but it's only about 10 or so. So you're not really having to do much. And then you're twiddling on your thumbs and you're looking around the room and you're just, you're not really doing much. That's not technically, you're not physically working. Okay. But I'm saying if you had a job to which you could do from your home, that non-work time, you could be doing something else during all of that time. That's the whole point. You don't allow people to do that. You want people to be in the office, which means if they want to have a kid or if they had a kid, they're away from their child. They could be tending to their kid, making their kid a bottle or whatever while still looking at the computer. But you don't want that. And then now you're mad that they don't have any kids. They're not having kids. They're having a lower rate of kids. I don't know why you'll be mad at that. You should understand that you are creating this problem. So that's one of the things. As I said, you also are able to get things done depending on the age of your child as well. Sometimes you ain't got to do any you ain't got to pay for babysitting. Okay. Because if your kid is, I'm not saying like you have to constantly rock them back and forth and do all this and do all that. I mean, at the end of the day, as long as your job is getting done, who cares? I don't care if you have a newborn and you're rocking them back and forth constantly while you're working. As long as the work gets done and it's getting done well, who cares? But that's the problem. You have people who constantly want to micromanage. You have people who constantly, because managers want to allow for themselves to seem relevant when they're not. Because you have a lot of managers who their job could immediately just be gone because we don't really need you to look over anyone else because everyone else is already doing their job. But they want that extra thing. That's why they want you in the office as well. That, of course, and the buildings. Okay. But, we look at different things and it's like, well, where's this work-life balance that everyone talks about? You have people who are tired, they're exhausted. And you have some people who, they're working so many hours. They're volunteering, doing extra projects, doing this, doing that. They have other time over here that they're doing, and they're doing off hour things, and they're burnt out. And then you're like, well, open your legs and take your thing out and have kids though. Even though I know you're exhausted, I know you're not even gonna have time for your kids, but have kids. Ain't nobody gonna want no kids. No one wants kids after that, y'all. So that's what you have to think about. Even think about certain things like global events. You got the war, you got the homelessness, that's an ongoing thing, poverty, no government assistance, disease. Why would anybody want to bring their kid into that? And I know people are like, well, don't use that as an excuse for not. No. If there's wars going on in my country, do you think I really want to have a kid to possibly get blown up? No, that's ridiculous. If I don't get any kind of health assistance, do you think I really want to have a kid so that I can now be in poverty if I wasn't already in it? We see what you guys do with the homeless people. Should I just be like, okay, well, let me have a kid that possibly drive me into homelessness, and hope the kid is not, unhealthy, because that's going to make your situation even worse, especially. And this is for America, no health care. And even if you do have health care, you still have to pay. I remember I got a COVID test, yo. Oh yeah, it's covered by your health insurance. Oh, cool. It was just a COVID test. They only took 2 because one came up as a negative, even though my home test came up as positive. Theirs came up as negative. Then they had to send it to Quest Diagnostics. And I'm like, okay, cool. And then I'm thinking, okay, I could just sign some little paper, leave, be out my way. I went to like one of those emergency care kind of things. And then they were like, oh, that'll be, what they say? I think they said that'll be $150. I'm like, $150? Mind you, I took my COVID test at one of those USPS things that they gave for free. You put your email, you put your email, you put your address in there. They gave that for free. And they're charging you $150. I was like, oh. Well, what's the point of even having this stuff? Then I look and it's like, oh, but we took off like $300. This thing costs $400 and something for a test that I took at home and y'all's was faulty. Okay, sure. So that's one of the things, and it's like people don't want to have to go through all that extra stuff. You said it as covered, but then I still have to pay a whole bunch of money. And that's just $150. Who's to say that your kid doesn't need a surgery? And now you're dishing out thousands of dollars that you don't have, And then you just have this other thing of females we have reached a point where we're not just going to be barefoot and pregnant sitting in the house eating bonbons. Now we want to do something. We don't want to just be reliant on your money. We want to be independent. We want to do what it is that we want to do. And hey, I mean, it is what it is. It's going to be what it's going to be. And now y'all like, oh, but we need y'all in the house to be barefoot and pregnant, but y'all still need to get a full-time job with extra overtime, and we may or may not give y'all maternity or paternity leave, but that's on y'all. But have kids. No. So this is where I'm at. You can't just be expecting people to just do whatever because you want them to do it, yet you don't offer any kind of assistance or any kind of help. You don't even like try to change rules, change laws, working. You don't want to do any of that. You're just like, well, just get it done and just do it, please. Have kids, and after that, we don't care. Well, that's the problem that we have. But those are my thoughts and opinions. I wonder if you guys have any kind of other reasons why people don't want to have kids. Do you want to have kids? I know I didn't even mention it in the video whether or not I wanted to. But do you want to have kids? Do you have them? Do you not necessarily regret the kid, but the situation to which you had them? I would like to know in the comments down below. And until then.